you understand how your people act in certain situations. I wouldn't drop the steady person into chaos and say, okay, when I go flourish. I wouldn't drop the person who says, hey, I thrive in chaos, and then all of a sudden they're not challenged because it's not busy. And although small talk might not be their thing, where small talk is the thing for the person who needs the slower times to be able to develop the rapport or whatnot. And there's two different strengths, skill sets right there. And then, like you said, Brittany, it's just being able to know who your team is and identify those skill sets, put them in to the right situations and whatnot. And I think we're all on the same page here. And so, as I'm doing my research and my information for what associates want, it's simple. So we've talked about pretty much everything they just kind of sort of wanted, or what we can use in Aikido to take the strength and bring it to the top, right? So the number one thing that associates said they wanted was greater input and autonomy. Now, I know I talked about last week that being autonomous can sometimes drive performance. So it was like last week or the week before that, one of them. And one thing that I think is undervalued or underrated within leaders is something that we did talk about, but us knowing as leaders where you can go with the situation versus the associate perspective to it, right? And so we sit here and say, you don't understand, you have a great job, you could take advantage of everything. And they're sitting back like, take advantage of what? I'm here to get a check. I don't know what there is to offer. Like, what are the benefits? And although they go through this onboarding process that says you can get X, Y, Z, and you have all of these things that you can get and all that stuff, all of a sudden they get into the job and it's like they check out and then I don't know exactly what we offer now. But they want greater input and autonomy. And so there needs to be a shift in management, in my opinion, that says, what are the things strength wise that we can do? So is it, do I need to move you to IT? Or maybe you can't move jobs like that. Maybe I just need to put you in a certain situation or train you in a certain style for you to be able to operate in that area and gain some autonomy so I don't have to watch over you and everything for you to be able to thrive, right? So I believe everybody has a certain level of communication skills. And so I'll just use this for example. I had one associate that struggled communication wise. The bulk of that job was communication over the phone. And I just said, I don't understand how you can't get your point across, or like maybe you just sound kind of dry and monotone across and whatnot. And then we were able to work as far as there are people who know how to communicate that are monotone. And how do you engage somebody if you are that monotone person? And all of a sudden the lights clicked on. And they were like, oh, so you mean they were in a phase where they said, well, they had conceded defeat and they were like, I don't know what this looks like. And what we had to do was map out what it looks like beyond this position. So I get it. You gotta get it out the mud, as I call it, in a certain position. But here's what ultimately this looks like. What position will you be in? Where are you striving to get to? And that will sometimes click that light on. Um, so there's a part. Then I was asked this question last week. I did a Facebook live with a gentleman, and he said, "Was one?" He asked me to name the biggest things I look for in leaders, and one of them was vision. And I think we undervalue that or undermine that because we don't create the vision a lot of times for people. We say, hey, this is big picture. This is what the business needs to look like. What is the vision for that person, though? And we don't create that for them to say, if I asked the majority of associates right now and said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That person probably will say maybe they got a promotion or two because they only know what that looks like at the next level. Well, I want to be sales rep number 2. Well, great. You can probably do that this year, but in 5 years, you're probably going to be beyond sales rep number 2. You might be district manager. I don't know, whatever the position might be. You might be somewhere along the lines. You might be assistant store manager. You might be whatever it is, depending on how far you can move. You might become a supervisor, depending on how many levels you have to get off. And then the light bulb clicks on, and they start to say, "Oh, I didn't realize that could happen." Although in your mind, you're like, "Well, it's laid out in sheets and it's on the website, and you can look at the career paths and all that stuff."